Hi guys, I am live. I'm still going solo as of now. Um, Jason's a little under the weather. Paul's busy with his. I believe he's still umpiring baseball, and of course he's got his job to go to too. So we'll get those guys back on here as we get closer to the actual football season. But right now, let's take care of a little business. I just want to remind you guys to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button. Like, comment. You can comment later after the show when it's on replay, or you can just comment live tonight and we'll have a good conversation. Um, this show was originally going to include wide receivers and tight ends, but there were so many of wide receivers and tight ends on the roster that doing my research, I decided to not do the tight ends tonight. So tight ends will be part of my next broadcast, and I'll throw the fullbacks in with the tight end since we got one coach taking care of fullbacks and tight ends. Okay, so let's get started. I found I think I found 15 and a half wide receivers on the roster. And I say half because Terrell Washington Jr. has been doing both running back and receiving. At least he did during spring practice. So there looks like there's some talk about moving him to wide receiver or using him kind of like a Swiss Army knife and stuff like that. So he's someone who could probably do some jet sweeps along with Cajun Weechin and stuff like that, but also maybe get out there in the flat or get the ball, catch the ball out of the backfield and see what he can do. Um, so honestly, and we saw a little bit of him last year as a running back, and we know what he can do. He showed some flashes, and so this is going to be a pretty full wide receiver room. Of course, I don't all 15 aren't going to get on the field, but also let's just say, all right, we know that John Budmeyer is the coach of the wide receivers. We also know that he has absolutely no experience coaching wide receivers. So I do not know how this is going to work. We're going to take a wait and see attitude, see how if the wide receivers improve this year. But the thing is he's already lost two wide receivers. Well, Dante Vines, he didn't really lose him because he wasn't named wide receivers coach yet. Okay, so he was gone, I think, even before the bowl game. All right, but we lost Jacob Bostic, okay, to Texas A&M, who's had 2 years or 3 years on the team, never caught a pass in those couple years. But the biggest challenge that Budmeyer had was to find a way to keep him happy because, as everybody knows, during spring practice interviews, he was excited for the new offense. He was excited to be the central figure on the wide receiving squad, you know, and he was even on the depth chart listed as the number one wide receiver. So, what happened to make him leave? I don't want to get into details and everything because I don't know them, but what happened to make him leave even before the spring game? He left before the spring game. John Budmeyer was it not able to keep him and convince him to stay. Okay, all right. And also John Budmeyer had a chance to pick up a wide receiver out of Missouri State, and he wasn't able to convince him to come to Iowa, and he ended up at Fresno State. And he actually said something to the effect on Twitter or X now, I guess. Sorry, it's still Twitter to me. It always will be. Um, he said something to the fact that I gotta put some bread on the table for my family. So honestly, he was in it for the money, and so he probably wasn't. Anybody who's in it like that for the money like that, who's shopping for a bag is probably not Iowa worthy. Anyway, so let's get started with. Let me run down all the names I found on the wide receivers list. Okay, and by the way, Terrell Washington Jr. is still listed as a running back, but all right, we got Buey. I'm sorry, Jarrett Buey. He's a redshirt freshman. We've got Caleb Brown, who's going to be a junior this year. We got Seth Anderson. And when we talk about his stats later, you're going to really be surprised at the stats that I came up with for him. You got Dayton Howard. He's a redshirt freshman. We got Reese Osgood, a sophomore. And by the way, when I checked these on, they didn't tell me if they were walk on or if they were on scholarship. So I got a feeling I know which ones for sure are on scholarship, but I can't tell you who for sure is on walk on. Walk on. Okay. And then we got Alex Moda, redshirt freshman. We got Alex Eichmann, sophomore. We've got Alec Wick, junior. We've got Caden Weechin, senior. CJ Leonard, who's a freshman, so he's just coming in. Aiden Price is a redshirt freshman. Judah Mallet, I want to say Mallet, is a redshirt freshman. We got Jacob Gill, who is from Northwestern. He's listed as a junior here. We got KJ Parker listed as a freshman and Reese Vanderzee listed as a freshman. Okay. Let's just start talking a little bit about each one of these guys if we can. All right. Sorry about the paperwork being messed up. Okay. Because I'm going to come back to that. We're going to talk about, and we're going to pick who I think, and you guys probably already got it figured out. We're going to pick the ones who I personally think, yeah, yeah. Hi, Kelvin. Thank you. I know you did, but that would have been the current walk-on roster for this year, the 2024 incoming class. We didn't get the walk-on. I don't have the walk-ons for all the classes. Okay. So all right. Let's start with Jared Bowie, who's a redshirt freshman. He's 6'1", 185 pounds, and he's out of Florida. All right. Okay. He appeared in 3 games last year, no targets. All right. So his high school numbers, his senior year, he caught for 735 yards. Doesn't the bio didn't say how many catches he actually had, but he had over 1,000 yards, all-purpose yards, his senior year. Okay. His junior year, he caught 30 passes for 407 yards, and his sophomore year, 19 passes for 400 yards. So the guy can motor. It looks like he can motor and catch the ball. And he's going to be one of the guys who I expect to be in and getting targeted this year for throws. I realize that we're a run first team, according to Lester. We're going to be a run first team, and then we center around our game around the tight ends usually. And the tight ends help with a lot of blocking, so our tight ends also have to be blockers. Okay. So I don't know how much of these wide receivers are going to be used this year. I do know, if I remember right, we were a few games into the season before a wide receiver even caught a pass last year. Okay. Then next we got Caleb Brown, 197 pounds. We know a little bit about him because we saw him struggle early in the season with drop passes. And so, but he did earn the Next Man In award. So I mean, so in all that, okay, so he won the Next Man In award. So they thought enough of him. In 11 games that he appeared in, he was 22 for 215 yards, and he had a 9.8 yards per catch. So that'll get a lot of first downs as long as we've made a few yards. Okay, so so he's doing good there. He had 1 touchdown, and he also had 99 for 54 yards rushing at 6 yards per rush. So the guy can rush the ball too, and 6.0 yards. That'll help with a lot of first downs. Isn't the idea to keep the ball moving and move on? Yeah, that's what I think too. Okay. Then we got Seth Anderson. All right, 6 foot, even 180 out of Georgia. Didn't play at Georgia. I just meant he played his high school career at Georgia. So he's 2023. He played in all 14 games. He was 11 for 150. Now this is what in 1 TD. And 3 rushes, it looks like, for 50 yards. Okay. Here's the kicker. he only had 11 catches and 150 yards. We know that one thing for sure is that he caught he caught the very first touchdown pass of the year on the second play from scrimmage for the game, right? Okay, so he did that. Alrighty. Okay. But for his total in his career, including to every place he's been, he's had 54 catches, 762 yards, and 8 career touchdowns. So that included the other school he played at, which I think it was a small school. Um, got Reese Osgood. No games played last year, um, and so he saw no action last year. His high school numbers are 58 catches, 1,082 yards, 13 touchdowns as a senior. So I think there's some potential in that guy. It looks like there's a lot of potential in him. Okay, so I would say he's a good one to count on maybe in the future, but I don't know that he'll get any playing time this year because he is a freshman. Uh, Jerry, I'm gonna pause just a second. I like your comment. Yeah, we would hope that would happen, but Jerry, if you remember right, even with Cade McNamara in there, and yes, he did play injured his first 4 games or 4.5 games. He still wasn't connecting like Iowa fans expected him to. We were expecting something more from him, and I believe he was under 50% for the games that he did play in. So I'd have to go back and verify that, but I mean, you're doing the Big Ten schedule and everything, and I'm anxious to watch that podcast later. Um, so um, and all that. So anyway, oh yeah, and the key to the wide receiver sex also lies with the O line. We got to throw to him too. We got to actually throw to him. The quarterback has to look for him. He has to look for more than just our tight ends. I really believe. Um, so Lama, I'm going to come back to yours a little bit later. I'm not skipping it. And Kelvin, yes, it all ties together. Okay, so then we got Dayton Howard. He's 6 foot 4 inches, 195 pounds, also a redshirt freshman. Played in no games last year, saw no action, but his high school, he had 760 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns. It's not a ton of yards. I don't know much about the offense that he was in, but of all the receiver, but all the yeah, I'm sorry. I keep you guys coming up with some good comments, and like I said, Llama, I'm coming back to yours because we're going to talk about that a little bit. I want to save that one. All right. So anyway, I don't know anything much about this Dayton Howard. I heard some good things about him last year, and so I'm not sure what to think about him. I didn't hear anything about him in the spring. If you guys did, put it down there and tell me what you heard. All right, Alex Mota, 6 foot, even 180 pounds, redshirt freshman. Um, he appears too that he also did not have any game action last year. Okay, in high school he had 742 yards rushing, 230 yards receiving, and he also had 37.5 tackles. This guy could be our next. Could we actually use him on defense a little bit as a DB with the tackles or a linebacker? Maybe he's probably not big enough to play linebacker, but you know, it looks like he could be. Um, yeah, okay. Well, I like what Jerry had to say here on this one. Pretty thin Dayton Howard needs to put on some muscle. Okay, all right. I'm gonna take your word for it there. Jerry, thank you for your contributing. You're really helping me here out here a little bit because I don't know everything and I don't have any inside information. And Jerry, I don't know if you know it, but the rest of these guys do. I'm broadcasting out of California, so I don't have the access that everybody else has. But I enjoy this as I'm a Hawkeye fan, and I enjoy doing this. Usually I got a couple other guys with me who've been busy all summer, and so since the football season ended, so I've been doing a lot of solo broadcasts, but we hope to get them back. And so soon. All right. Anyway, that was his senior year, and then on his junior year, Alex had 59 59 for 879 pass catches with 5 touchdowns, and then he rushed for 629 yards and 7 touchdowns, and he had 28 tackles that year. This guy could be another Cooper DeJean. It looks like he's um Kelvin says Phil moved him to cornerback, but Lester stole him back after his hire. I'm going to tell you, I can see why Phil stole him. Looking at his defensive tackles and stuff, another Cooper. We got another Cooper on our hands. Good job, but good job. All right, all right. Kelvin says that Moda broke his foot in spring. Oh yeah, I remember that. Now I remember he was on the sidelines with his foot is in a boot. Yeah. Yeah, Jerry says Cooper. Yeah. I mean, this is what he looks like to me. I mean, I could be wrong, but um yeah, I could be wrong. Um but that's what it looks like to me just based on his stats. I haven't had a chance to see him in person. It would be nice to get to some spring games and get to see what he does when he gets out on the field because I'm going to have to watch most of the games from TV this year. I do have intentions of going to 2 games. That would be the Washington game at Iowa because I'll be in Iowa that weekend, and I will also go to the UCLA game in Pasadena in November because I live just a short drive, 2-hour drive plus from Pasadena. Okay. So anyway, okay. So he runs 10, 8, and 100. Okay. So that's about is that considered pretty fast, but not elite level? Because they were saying the rusher that one of the rushers I was talking about oh the one that's just coming in. Oh, he was 10-4, and they call that elite level. Yeah. Okay. Same as Cooper. Okay. All right. Appreciate you guys contributing. Thank you. It really helps the show grab some legs and have some credibility. All right. Graham Fredrickson. Okay, he's 6'1", 200 sophomore. I don't have any stats on him anywhere. Same with Alex Eichmann, who's 6'2", 207 and sophomore. And Alec Wick, he's 6'1", 193. Junior. I believe he's one of the walk-ons. And he appeared in all 14 games last year, and but he only had 2 catches for 31 yards, and so given that, all right, okay, so here we go. Caden Weegen. I need to get out my book and remember exactly how to pronounce that. Okay. 5'10", 169 senior. We've seen what he can do. Here's something that surprises me though. With his speed, he appeared in all 14 games but had no receptions. And that's kind of, why not? Why not see what he can do? Didn't we kind of compare him to a little bit to Charlie Jones a little bit? Okay, he had 4 rushes for 20 yards, and I believe all of those were jet sweeps. If I remember right, he had 14 kick returns for 225 yards, 7 punt returns for 63 yards. Overall, his all-purpose yards are 418 yards, and yes, yes, he is a return specialist. I would just love to see him get some catches. I've gotten to know his uncle pretty good, and I know they're rooting for him as they should be. But with this kind of speed, I don't know why we can't get him out in the open and let him run a couple routes and throw him the ball and see what he can do. I just believe we would do that. Yeah. Thanks, Jerry. CJ Leonard, he's a freshman. I don't have any current stats on him. And I'm sorry, some of these guys who I didn't feel are going to even play or sniff the field or redshirt, I didn't do any real research on them. Aiden Price and Judah Mallet are two others that I didn't do anything real with them, just because I don't feel like they'll be getting on the field. Um, and so, but Judah, even though he never saw any action last year, he did earn the team leader award. Okay. Okay, this brings us to Jacob Gill, our transfer out of Northwestern. Okay. Injuries, he only saw action in 4 games because he was injured in 2023, and he was just 1 for 11 on his targets. So he caught one ball. No, I'm sorry, he caught one ball for 11 yards. All right. In 2022, he caught 7 catches for 99 yards, and in 21 he caught 8 catches for 85 yards. So I mean, they're Northwestern wasn't look like they're using him a lot. They just looked like they were sporadically just throwing him the ball, but he was being used in the appearances in the games and everything. So that would make him for career 15, 16 for yeah. I forget what it was. It's about 200 plus yards. So yeah, I expect him. I expect him to be used quite a bit this year, and we're gonna see that. KJ Parker is an incoming freshman, and as is Reese Vanderzee. I expect both those guys to redshirt. We're not going to need them this year. I know that we're awful thin in the receivers department. Um, Calvin has said Wetjen, Wick, Osgood, Eichmann, Fredrickson, Mallet, Pollock, Leonard, Payne, and Price are all walk-ons. All the ones I didn't expect to see any, except for Weejan. All those I didn't expect them to see any action anyway. Okay. Okay. So we know that this one's gonna bring me back to uh hopefully he's still here. Llama's comment. Okay. And this is his opinion. It doesn't mean that you guys have to agree with his opinion. All right. KF is dragging this team down by his inability to hire, promote proven QB and wide receivers coach. John Meyer was basically both QB guru, was basic. Okay, wide receivers and basically both QB guru, and now we have coach. Okay, and so I think what he's obviously saying here, that he feels that, like we all do, that John Budmeyer was probably not the best hire that we could have hired for a wide receivers coach, and we've got our um, offensive coordinator out there, not only coaching the quarterbacks and setting up his offense and getting these guys to run the offense, all 11 guys, to what he wants to do, but he's also there working with Budmeyer on the wide receiving position. I don't understand why we don't hire a wide receiver coach, a real wide receiver coach, to coach the wide receivers, since that's the area that we are most, I would say we're probably let down most in that area. The wide receivers and then the O line the last 3 years um, have been the areas of biggest disappointment. And I'm not including the quarterback situation last year because basically we didn't expect Cade to get hurt, and nobody thought that Deacon was going to even play it down last year. And so that was injury and the fault of Iowa not having guys ready to go, and Joey Labus, supposedly, according to Kirk, was hurt all season, although his dad says he wasn't. So I don't know anything about that. But we don't want to get into that discussion tonight. We got into it the other night, and okay. So all right, all right. Okay. KJ Parker polished and ready, and he probably get his chance with our thin wide receiver room. He's probably going to get a chance. He probably will. I mean, so yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Llama says KF is making the offense coaching staff developmental instead of proven. Okay. Is it his laziness? And if you guys Llama does feel that Coach Ferentz is a little lazy in that area. And so that's why he says that. Okay, do you feel the same about Cade this coming season? Because I doubt Cade gets 5 games in. Jerry, I'm going to actually agree with you. And I know I've talked to Llama about this. Neither one of us feel like Cade's going to stay healthy enough if he even gets to the starting lineup. We don't. I don't honestly feel that he's going to make it. He's very fragile, and part of coming back from injuries like that is mental. It's mental. It's up here. Okay. And so if he's going to be tentative like he was last year, like in the kids game, he was so tentative and that's how he tore his quad. Okay. And then coming into, week 5, we could see that he was tentative in every run going into his games last year. He was very, very tentative. Um, Calvin says, I'm assuming this is for Parker. Was a 4.45 in the 40-yard dash. So I assume that's for Parker. That sounds like sweet speed to me. So, and then Jerry says we better get used to Sullivan. Honestly, I think Sullivan's gonna take the majority of the snaps this year. If I would, like I said this in the quarterback show a couple episodes ago. I feel like this might be a good time for Las Vegas to, do their little side things that they do. What do you guys call them? Because we don't have gambling here in California, so I don't know all the terminology. But like a parlay or something, I don't know. But what's the over under on Cade's playing? How many games he plays this year? Because I don't think there's one person out there, and I believe the coaches probably believe the same way that he's going to make it through the entire season, which is why we had to go out and get rid of Deacon and find a Sullivan, you know. And I don't have a problem if Sullivan steps in and takes over. I think he can get the job done. I know that his stats weren't crazy great at Northwestern, um, but you have to understand Iowa has a better team surrounding him than he had at Northwestern. You know, kudos to the job that Northwestern did and that coach did under the circumstances that he got those guys winning games and winning season. Because honestly, they didn't have anybody around them, and I don't know if they're going to be able to carry that momentum over this year or not. Because I don't know what they've done, and I know that Jerry's did a show on the Big Ten schedule, so he probably knows more about what's going on with Northwestern and what he expects from Northwestern this year. Um, so, um, yeah, and I would encourage you guys, Jerry, if you could tell everybody what that podcast is, that so they can go over and watch it too. I think they would enjoy it too. I like to promote other people's podcast here too because I know I'm not the best. I know I'm not the greatest, and I'm just opinionated fan. And so, if you want to type up your podcast and send some of these people over there to watch yours, that would be okay. You could do that. So, okay, so Jerry feels like, it's around 5. It's around 5 for Cade. I don't even know if he's going to get to the starting lineup. It's like, okay, he's playing a charity softball game at the end of this month in a week or two. Is it wise? I don't know. I mean, it could be. It could be wise. I don't know. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. So Llama has he says I'm good with Sullivan as long as Budmeyer and KF never coach him or offer him suggestions. If they do, he will become ineffective. Okay. Jerry's name of his podcast is Punting is Winning. Um, it's his first YouTube, but they have 21 audibles only episodes. Too. So yeah, Jerry. I started out with a friend, and we did about 100 audio ones before we switched to YouTube. And then he dumped me and went on his own after I convinced him YouTube was the way to go. So anyhow, so that's why I did this with my two other friends, and it's been a semi successful show. Um, while we're talking about that, let's talk about not forgetting to like this episode. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please subscribe. I want to do better and more quality shows, and and it would help if I can get the viewership up, the subscriptions up, so I can show potential sponsors that hey, people are watching and listening, and they care what we have to say here. That I can get some sponsors. If I can get some sponsors, I can get better equipment. I can get better everything, and make this show better, and maybe even pay for some guests to come on here because I know that I've approached a couple of guests, but they wanted some money, and I haven't told you guys that. I haven't told you guys that in the past. Um, that I have approached some former Hawkeyes and current Hawkeyes, and it was all about the almighty dollar. I have had former Hawkeyes on here before, and I hope to have again. But they have to come on here for free, or unless I can get sponsored to pay them to come on here, because it would be fun to have these guys on here and just talk about some of their times. I know that there's some former Hawkeyes out there, like the washed up walk-ons doing their show, um, and so that, and Jordan Bohannon has a show right now. If you don't mind spending about 30 minutes talking about farm animals and cows and stuff, I love what Jordan has to say, especially during the basketball season. He doesn't hold back on that. And anyway, I would love to have Jordan on this show sometime. But if he's not busy, too busy selling insurance and retirement funds out there. So anyhow, I really appreciate you guys. If you guys got any more comments, feel free to put them out there right quick, and we'll talk about some more a little bit if we want to. So anybody want to have any more comments or anything? Because this will be one of my shorter shows, and I appreciate the few of you that did show up, and I appreciate the ones who are watching the replay and will actually comment later because I come back and I comment later on your comments. So please come back. Um, there, I'm gonna put this one up so that people can see this when they see the replay. Hopefully, this is the one that YouTube chooses to keep up for the thing. Anyway, I appreciate everybody, and we'll talk to you guys later. Next show will be tight ends and fullbacks, and we'll talk about all them. There's quite a few of them as well, although we're probably only looking realistically at 3 tight ends this year. Um, okay. All right. Hopefully we get a 4-star wide receiver from Chicago. Kelvin, who we targeting on that one? I forgot. If you could tell me who we're targeting on that. Okay. Okay. Quick oddity. I noticed that about the Big Ten schedule, USC doesn't get east of the Rockies. Sorry guys. Doesn't get east of the Rockies after 10-19. Huh. Wow. Okay. All right. My wife's trying to call me. So I'm gonna get off and try to call her back real quick, find out what she needs. She and my daughter are out shopping, so I'll see what they need from me. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate each and every one of you who take the time to watch and listen. Bye.